Everyone thinks fat loss is a straight line. You eat a bit better, you do some cardio, and suddenly the weight comes off and life's great. I used to think exactly the same thing, and I would constantly ask myself, how comes this stuff just doesn't work for me? But the truth is, fat loss doesn't work like that. Eventually I realized there was 4 stages to fat loss that no one really tells you about, and once I figured that out, I managed to lose 70 pounds of body fat and change my life forever. And in this video, I'm going to take you through those 4 stages so you can prepare yourself properly for what's to come and finally stop quitting just before you see results. Now, stage number 1 is what I like to call the honeymoon phase, and this is where fat loss feels easy. You've made the choice to start losing fat, your motivation is sky high, and suddenly for the first time in ages, you feel like this time it's actually going to work. So you start your diet, you get those steps in, maybe you hit a couple of workouts per week, and every single morning you step on the scale, that number just keeps getting lower and lower, and you feel amazing, and that feeling is addictive. But what most people don't realize is the weight that's coming off during this stage is not just pure fat. Yes, it's some fats, but it's mostly water and glycogen, and that's a result of cutting out excess food that you have been eating. But it doesn't matter, that's still progress, and it lights a fire under you to keep going because you feel like you've cracked the code. The problem is though, this is where you convince yourself that the entire process is just going to be a piece of cake, and that scale is going to keep dropping and dropping. What you need to realize though is that the human body just doesn't work like that. Your body will start fighting back and it will adapt. I remember when I first got the motivation to start trying to lose fat, and I became obsessed with the keto diet, and in just a couple of weeks I lost nearly 6 pounds, and I thought to myself, why have I not done this before? I'm going to have a 6-pack in no time. And that's the danger of the honeymoon phase. It tricks you into thinking the entire process is easy and the results are just going to keep coming. But you have to prepare yourself for the next stage, because most people quit because they can't handle what's about to come. By the way, if you're sat there right now thinking, well, I haven't even made it to that stage yet, I've put together a free fat loss Kickstarter blueprint which contains a workout program as well as 6 macro-friendly recipes that taste like cheat meals, and you can get that again for free by clicking the second link in the description of this video. With that being said, what's about to come is stage 2, the plateau stage, and like I just said, this is where most people fall apart. You will know you've reached this stage when you wake up one day, you step on that scale and the number hasn't gone down, and maybe it's even gone up. And when this happens, I guarantee you will feel that motivation vanish. It can be really confusing at first because you'll be like, hold on a second, I've been doing exactly what I've been doing for the past few weeks, but suddenly the number isn't going down, and you will start to ask yourself, well, what's the point of doing this? I still remember when this first happened to me. I stepped on the scale one morning and the number hadn't gone down. I said to myself, that's a bit weird. Maybe I just ate more yesterday. I weighed myself later that week and the number had gone up. And I'll admit right now, I literally almost cried. And I started to come up with all of these excuses. Maybe my metabolism's just slow. Maybe it's my genetics. Maybe this, maybe that. But now I realize that was completely normal. When you first start losing weight, your body is caught somewhat off guard, so it reacts quickly to changes. Fewer calories and more movement, so it lets go of weight fast, but it will adapt pretty quickly. Your hunger hormones rise, you will feel dips in energy, and everything feels just that little bit harder. But you have to realize this is where 90 to 95% of people give up. They hit this wall and they just assume they failed, and they go right back to those old habits, eating way too many calories, drinking every weekend, and spending most of their time on the sofa, and before they know it, they're right back where they started. Look, the worst thing you can do during this stage is panic. It's going to catch you off guard, yes, but if you can just stick it out and keep going, you will see results. Because plateauing isn't a sign that what you're doing isn't working, it's just a sign that your body is adapting. Think about it like this, your body's only function is to keep you alive. So suddenly when you're eating less and you're being more active, it doesn't think, oh, they're trying to lose fat. It thinks famine, drought, and it will hold on to water and slow things down. So it's at this point where you need to think logically and not emotionally. Focus on your inputs. Are you sleeping well? Are you getting those steps in? Are you eating in a deficit? Are you doing your workouts? Because that is still progress and the scale will eventually catch up. Fat loss is never going to happen in a perfectly linear straight line. It's going to come in waves. Some weeks you'll lose nothing and then suddenly you'll lose 3 pounds. That's just how it works. So rather than trying to change everything or quit, just zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture. Ask yourself this: has your weight been moving in the right direction in the last few weeks or month? If the answer is yes, then you're doing the right thing. But if after a few weeks you have truly stalled, you just need to make some simple adjustments. There's no need to quit. And if you manage to get through this phase, you'll reach stage 3. And this is where the real results start to come. Now, stage 3 is the grind stage. And if the honeymoon stage was exciting and the plateau phase was frustrating, this is where you're really going to have to earn it. It's not glamorous, it's not fast, and it's going to suck at times, but if you can make it through it, I promise you, you will change your life forever. By this stage, you would have been in a deficit for a little while, you would have got through that plateau, and you will start seeing progress again, just a little bit slower than the honeymoon phase. You're likely losing anywhere from half a pound to a pound a week, and scale fluctuations become a little less unpredictable at this point. But this is the phase that builds your new identity, and it's where you become resilient and disciplined. I'll be totally honest with you, this is the stage that I really did not enjoy. There was days that I was tired, days that I was hungry, days that I just didn't want to do anything, and days where I asked myself, is this even worth it? But something that kept me going was taking weekly progress pictures. You see yourself in the mirror, what, 20, 30 times a day, so you never really see changes that often. But if you look back at those weekly pictures, you will see visible change, and that will keep you going. You'll also notice loads of small wins that are away from the scale. Your face will look sharper, your clothes will fit better, and you'll suddenly feel more confident. But because these changes aren't drastic, sometimes it's going to feel like nothing's really happening. And during those periods, you need to knuckle down and just keep going. And I want you to realize, even if the scale isn't going down often, you are still making progress, because this is the stage where your body composition starts to change. Whilst you're losing fat, you're going to also be building muscle if you're weight training, and that can somewhat offset the rate in which the scale goes down. But that's why those progress pictures I mentioned earlier are so important. This is also where the mental side of things becomes more important than ever, because days will feel repetitive. You're eating similar meals, doing similar workouts, walking similar routes, and at times your brain will try and convince you to stop. You will hear that little voice in your head telling you, just take a few days off, you've earned it. But tell it to fuck off. Remind yourself what got you this far in the first place, that consistency, and that's what's going to take you further. And don't worry about being perfect during the grind phase. Some days you're going to eat too many calories, some days you're not going to get your steps in, and occasionally you'll miss your workout, but what matters is you get straight back to it the next day. Just play the long game and don't allow yourself to fall into the trap of starting over again and again and again. Over time, your habits will become automatic, and that's when the power of compounding starts to come into full effect. And one day you'll look in the mirror and be like, holy fuck, is that me? And that's when you'll know you're about to reach the final stage. And the fourth and final stage is the maintenance and adaptation stage. Now look, this is the most unsexy phase of them all, because it's no longer about making progress or losing fat. It's about keeping the results that you have earned, because the reality is, most people find it harder to keep the fat off than to lose fat. And not because it takes more work, it's easier in that sense, but it requires a different mindset. You spent months in this kind of tunnel vision mode of losing fat, but like I said, suddenly you'll look in the mirror one day and be like, shit, I've done it now. And that's why so many people who lose fat rebound and put it all back on, because you have been in the identity for so long of someone who is trying to lose fat. And when you've done it, it's like, well, what now? It will start with small things. You'll skip your steps 2 days in a row, and you'll start eating snacks after dinner that you don't really need, but then you'll start slipping back into all of your old habits, and before you know it, you're putting weight back on. So here is what you need to understand. There is no after. You have become a new version of yourself, and that's just who you are now. You have to find your maintenance rhythm, the point where you live your life, enjoy food, enjoy going out with your friends, but you also enjoy your workouts, going on walks, and living a well-rounded lifestyle. When I reached this stage myself, I felt a little bit lost, because my whole identity and my whole purpose for a year had been losing fat, and suddenly that was just taken away from me. And that's when I started to tip. I said to myself, well, Aiden, you've done it now, you may as well just treat yourself. It started with a pizza, and it ended up with a week-long binge, and that just kept going and going and going, and a few weeks later I put on 7 pounds. But luckily I managed to snap myself out of it and get back on track. I realized although you can't do exactly what you have been doing in the previous stages, you can still live with structure. That means eating a bit more food, but still keeping a general idea of what your calorie and macro intake is. Staying active in ways you enjoy, and by the way, I have never met anyone who doesn't fall in love with the gym. And most importantly, it means staying mindful, but not obsessing over every little thing, because that's what builds true confidence. Confidence that means you can go out for a meal or go on holiday and not worry about it, and confidence that if you put on a few pounds, you just make some adjustments and get it back off. And that's when everything becomes so much easier, because suddenly it's just who you are. You aren't the person who's trying to lose fat anymore. You are the person who lives a healthy and balanced lifestyle by default, and that's the whole point of this. To reach the point where you never have to start over again. And that's when you've truly won, because your fat loss goes from something that's temporary to something that's permanent. And if you want to work with me directly so that you can lose fat and get lean for life, click the first link in the description, watch the video, and see if my coaching is the right fit for you. Other than that, I hope this video helped. If it did, leave it a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.